I welcome all of you to this Sunday webinar of Philosophy Family. We have with us Dr. Pramod Kumar Das, our admin. He will be speaking on Bhagavad Gita as a manual of management. We will be focusing on the practical side of Bhagavad Gita. We will be making a reference to time management, the management of desires, stress management, and management of various aspects of life. So this is the practical side of Bhagavad Gita. How Bhagavad Gita would be instrumental in dealing with different practical sides that we encounter in life. Dr. Das will be speaking on that. So it would be a good talk. And we have with us Rajit Ghosh sir and many others. We have it, even Radhanath Behera sir. So Shravani madam and all. I welcome all of you, sir, to this webinar. And Dr. Das requires no introduction because he is the admin and he has delivered a number of talks in this family. So, with these words, I request all of you to be here listening to the talk of Dr. Das, and I request all of you to participate in the discussion that will follow after the talk. So, with these words, let us all move to Dr. Das for the lecture. Over to Dr. Das. Namaskar, sir. Welcome. Please unmute, sir.
Hello. Hello. Okay. Okay. Thanks so much, Dr. Das, for your very comprehensive and clear uh, observation and standpoint on the Bhagavad Gita. As you have mentioned the manual of the management, and you have very clearly mentioned the how Bhagavad Gita can be used and is a manual for uh, for manual or it is solution to solve all kinds of the crisis of the time or crisis supply, and you have taken the time, desire, stress, and business management, and you have make a very beautiful you have made a very beautiful connection between psychological time with Arjuna's standpoint, and you have shown that how Arjuna failed to do his duty because he was in the crisis of psychological the time, and you say that if we manage our time, then by controlling our mind, then all kinds of crisis like can be managed and can be solved. And you have taken also the example of that is desire, stress, business management. You have said how desire comes from attachment, and attachment should be controlled by the sense of detachment. And I don't want to explore more time to have your speech, but one thing that I can say that your speech and your observation on Bhagavad Gita is a reflection of your a research study, which will be very clearly observed by our learned participant. And if Dr. Rao is there, then I can request him to carry on the interactive session. Dr. Rao, are you there or in booth?
Yes, sir.
Dr. Rao?
Yes.
Oh,
Next week in the booth. Next week in the
okay, okay,
election booth. Okay.
okay,
This week
okay, fine.
not. Okay. So thank you, Dr. Das, and thank you, Dr. Maharana. Well, I request Dr. Ranjit Ghosh sir to initiate the discussion. I request him to have his observations and also the queries that he has in mind. So let us start with Dr. Ghosh. Namaskar, sir. Welcome. Please, your observations. Sir, please unmute, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Rao. Uh, Dr. Das has very nicely elaborated the concepts of Bhagavad Gita, which we must inculcate in our modern livings. So I have nothing more to add other than reiterating some of his views, which are actually important for our day-to-day life. One concept that he has mentioned again and again, that is the concept of pratyahara, resilience, which is very much important for us to practice in our own sphere of lives. Now, I believe that Gita, as ordinarily Gita is conceived as a book of karma yoga, but I add the other two yogas in it, and I always believe that Bhagavad Gita is a Jnana Bhakti Samannita Karma Yoga. It is a book of Jnana Bhakti Samannita Karma Yoga. So, what is important is jnana or self-knowledge, and which is mentioned by Krishna. But this self-knowledge was also the basic concept of the Vedic culture. We this is very much there. Atma jnana. This is already an important factor in the discussion of Hindu or Indian treatises. Now, the thing is, why I say this, that knowledge is more important. Because you see, knowledge, the opposite of knowledge is doubt. So we have to be very much clear about overcoming self doubt or fear, because self doubt is the reason which generates fear in us. If we go on doubting before acting anything, then it will lead us into a situation which is nothing but a situation of fear. Now, the dilemma, what is the dilemma here? The dilemma is when you doubt your power, you give power to your doubt. When you doubt your power, you give power to your doubt. So that is why we have to overcome doubt through the sayings of Krishna, and by that we have to overcome our doubt. Because what is our intention? Our intention is to live a life which is a life minus stress. So a stress-free life requires the very important requirement of a stress-free life is to make ourselves free from self-doubt. And when that self-doubt is possible, when we cultivate this mindfulness or meditation and all these things, then doubt will automatically wither away. Because the most important factor is this, where from this our problem comes. Here Dr. Das has mentioned about grief. And what is the source of grief? You see, take one single example, that the grief, our grief comes from, he has mentioned about Lovo and others, but grief actually comes from comparison. I have this much, but my friend is having more than me. So uh, he is having more of things which I do not possess. So in the process, this comparison actually is the troubleshooter in our lives. We are not satisfied with our own possession. We always think that others are enjoying more, but we are enjoying less. Somebody else has, if I think, go on thinking that somebody has become a professor and he is having so many contacts and all these things. So that is the reason of my grief. And where from it comes, and where it leads to? It leads to a self-doubt. And that doubt, that means I give power to my doubt instead of overcoming the doubt. So this, so on the whole, I would like to give stress on knowledge more. And this Jnana Bhakti Samannita Karma Yoga, which Tilak has mentioned, Balgangadhar Tilak, I think that is the most appropriate thing, because just making Gita as a treatise of Karma Yoga and bringing certain elements, the factors, different stages of mind and all these things. But the most important thing is knowledge, self-knowledge. So these are some of the observations I had to make. But the most important thing Dr. Das has mentioned, that is attachment and also resilience should be there. The pratyahara point, unless that is there, that will lead to grief, and that will lead to loho, and in the process all the negativities will come inside our mind. I think this much will suffice, and let others say something. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Bose. Well said. Well, you have given primacy to knowledge because it is the mind where it may keep you in peace or it will put you in doubt. So it is the knowledge aspect. When you are in, if somebody is in self doubt, that is the source of everything that comes out of it. Even your actions will be carried on because of that doubt, and the element of fear will somehow enter your mind, and the actions will be guided accordingly. So I really feel this point to be carried on because knowledge is primary, because because the psychological time that Dr. Das was pointing out, we live in the psychological time because of the lack of clarity in our mental structure. We live in that psychological time, and any hang on to the psychological time, maybe concerning a past event or something concerning the future. And Dr. Ghosh's point mostly connects with the future aspect, because something you doubt, something that you are not clear about, okay, you fear something in the time to come. So you are in the psychological time of the future. The event has not occurred, but that event is there in your mind. So that is a sort of doubt that will create how that event would be like. So that will lead you to anxiety, and that may lead you to fear, and accordingly your actions will be disturbed. You will be not in the normal state. So so I really feel good with this point, that a control over the mind with with a sort of clarity in the mind that can that can remove a sort of doubt, a self doubt, is fundamental for a peaceful mind to carry on a peaceful action. Because once the mind is not peaceful, the actions will be accordingly disturbing. So I do really appreciate this point, because the lack of a proper understanding of some aspect leading to a sort of doubt is dangerous. And Arjuna was similarly facing the same problem that Dr. Ranjit Gosar was pointing. It's not the fact that he had no knowledge, but he was not putting that knowledge to use in the battlefield. He was in the psychological time of the future. He was concerned about the consequences. What will happen? There was a self doubt. What will that doubt structure that he has not destroyed, even though that he had that knowledge, but he did not apply that knowledge in the battlefield. That came as a disturbing point in that in that particular point in the battlefield. So that is disturbing. So once you are clear from the self doubt, the mind will be at peace, and your actions will be more appropriate in the given life situation. So I really appreciate this point that Dr. Ghosh has given. And let us move to Dr. Das, what he has got in store for this.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree, and I have also said that. And Bhagavad Gita also says that. Bhagavad Gita gives importance
Then
to.
your voice is low.
I agree with you, Dr. Ghosh, and you, and I have also said that. And in the Bhagavad Gita also, Jnana is given more importance because that comes first. First Jnana Yoga, then comes Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. And there is a beautiful distinction between mind and intellect that I have focused in my talk. That whether we are guided our emotional mind or intellect. This discriminative power, the pure mind is intellect. By that we can claim that we are really rational. So that is the point. Mind may be baffled by the pairs of opposites, name, defame, loss, profit, success, failure. Mind may be biased because mind has a emotional flow. But beyond mind, we have the pure mind, that is intellect, buddhi yoga. Buddhi yoga I told. So that is the sign of knowledge. So by that buddhi, by that intellect, by that discriminative power, we are able to discriminate between this and that, the pairs of opposites, dharma, adharma, all these things. So knowledge is first. Knowledge leads to karma. If we have to discriminate what is karma, vikarma, akarma. We have to discriminate what is dharma and adharma. We have to discriminate what is clock time, psychological time, what is passion, what is devotion, what is attachment, what is detachment. All these things can be understood through the pursuit of a jnana only. Then we can start doing karma. I agree. I agree, and it is already there in the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita also gives importance to Jnana. Therefore, it comes the second chapter from onwards. Second chapter, we are discussing about Jnana Yoga. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, Dr. Das. Well, um, much of the problems, well, it has been discussed. Much of the problems that we face are mostly due to the psychological time. The better we manage the psychological time, the better would be our mind having a sort of peace. So, with this, let us move to Dr. Radhanath Behera sir to have his own views.
No, sir. Hello.
Yes, sir, welcome, sir.
Thank you. Uh, I have very little to add because Gita is such a vast subject, an encyclopedia of knowledge, action, bhakti. It is difficult to hit it from any angle. But then one thing comes to my mind because Dr. Das was dealing with the psychological time. This is a very great concept. Now, when Albert Einstein, the scientist, was asked to explain what he meant by time and eternity, he said, I will take some time to explain eternity, but you will take eternity to understand time. So I feel the time he had in mind is psychological time because they do not have much of yogic power or discrimination or knowledge of Gita and so on, because they deal with mostly Bible, and Bible deals with mostly with ethical subjects like how to live the life of morality, virtues, and so on in this life only. Now, I give a second example from Einstein because let us make it integral, science and spirituality. He was discussing his idea about theory of relativity, and he said, let us imagine the case of twins. There is a beautiful puzzle to explain the situation, and one of the two stays on Earth using a time, terrestrial time, and the other is flown by a ship, an airship, flying at the speed of light, using, of course, a time which is different from the time his twin friend or brother uses on Earth. After some years, both the flying boy comes, say for example, 10 or 15 years, and finds that his brother has grown very old, but he doesn't seem to be so. The reason, the terrestrial time functions faster than the time that was moving with the spacecraft. So, because he was moving slowly, he was aging slowly, and because the terrestrial boy was moving with the speed of the terrestrial time, he aged faster than the brother. So, this shows that time is also relative. Absoluteness of time cannot be justified because uh, what we feel time here is something different from even our Indian friends at the western side, like Bombay, etc. So they have their own local time, and that we can call it empirical time because it is a part or a fragment of the perennial time. Now, eternity is something which can never be uh, sorted out by virtue of empirical time It has no beginning, no end. That Hindu concept is very clear about it. So what we find that we have spent a span of say 70 years. It is just a fragment of two events, my birth and my death. So between two events, whatever is the inter- intervening space, that I measure in terms of my time. Now, Dr. Das can explain if this terrestrial time or empirical time is a fragment of the eternal time, or can this, because if it is done, then there is a past, there is a present, and there is a future of time. And as our scientist Stephen Hawking said, you can move with the arrow of time. You can move from the past to present and reach the future at some interval of time. Or you can so use, move it backwards from future, you can come to present and go back to the past. The writer H.G. Wells wrote a simple book called Time Machine, in which the hero was given a machine and was allowed to operate as he likes, because he was the person to move the timepiece forward to enter into future, to move it anti-clockwise or in the different direction to reach the past. So that was just a fiction, but it is some reality, because time can never be created, can never be destroyed. So whatever is brought from the consideration of mind, there is a limit, but I do not know how mind and body react, because mind is not material, body is. And how the non-matter like mind can operate within a matter like body. If I am drunk, my mind is restless. It becomes drifting from time to time, from moment to moment, from event to event. So the body becomes a handmaid of my mind. Mind is restless like a monkey, drifting, scattering itself from space one area to another. So this way, Lord Krishna, when he was explained to Arjuna that whatever is done, it has already been done by me. You are only to show that you are the master of the area of the battlefield. You are killing them. So this sense of I and mine is irrational. It is uncalled for, because everything is destined. Everything is predestined or premeditated. You are only a mere part of it, playing a negligible role, and you claim that you are the doer of everything, because it is only due to the ignorance about the immortality of soul, the eternity of any living organism. So I think Dr. Das will do us a little more justice explaining what could be the role of empirical time and eternal time. Over to Dr. Das.
Yes, when we are discussing about eternal time, this is a metaphysical question. Whether, the question I had raised, whether time is there or not, whether time exists or not, this is a metaphysical question. So time is one, time is eternal. This is like that. But when we are talking about the empirical time, chronological time, that time is that time is event specific. If there is no event, there is no time. Suppose you are locked in a dark room without having any contact of the empirical world, then you cannot have any access of time. Even no food will be given to you, because if the food will be given to you, you can understand the time by the digestion process. That this time is taking for digestion. If there will be no contact, empirical contact, then there will be no knowledge of time. So time is event specific. We understand time from the starting and ending of an event. And by that way, we have adjusted the all empirical phenomena according to our clock time. We have created time. When we are saying we have created time, that means the clock time. So this is the time of adjustment. This is the office time, lunch time, dinner time. At this time this will start, at this time this will end. These are all man-made. This is not natural. We have adjusted the movement, the arrangement of the movement of events according to our calculative mind. That 24 hours is a day, 60 minutes is 1 hour, it all are created by us. My point was psychological time. That what is our response to the movement of event? Suppose mathematically also we can understand time 1, time 2. Time 1, time 2, because the real time is not seen. In time 1, one event started. In time 2, that event ended. That happens independent of our existence or psychic response. That is occurring there. But when we are psychologically responding the event, whether we are ending up our experience with the end of the event, that is the problem. Sometimes what happens, we hang over, we develop attachment with the event, so we fail to finish our experience, our engagement with that event. The event ended, but we fail to end our experience. There we live according to our psychological time, and most of the time we are compatible with our psychological time, and we think that we are free in that way. I am a free man because I enjoy my time. I may go late. So sometimes we go ahead of time, and sometimes we go behind the schedule, behind the time. So that is the problem. That makes also causes stress in our mind. Our mind should be tuned with the empirical adjustment of a time that is man-made. We know that is man-made, but if we have created that time schedule, we should obey that. We should adjust our psychological engagement according to our created time. Otherwise, we shall be the cause of our stress, we shall be the cause of our suffering. Arjuna had that problem. The time Arjuna was there in the battlefield, that was not time for being confused. Because Arjuna was a great warrior, his duty was to fight instantly. Except Arjuna, nobody was there to ask any question, as Randhir sir said, the doubting mind. The doubting mind is not entertained when the duty is expected from a person. You should be a karma yogi. You should act. You should respond to the situation as per the time. That is war ethics. That war will start in a time. War will end in a time. So you should not disturb the empirical time of war by living through your psychological time. That is your personal time. That is your personal disturbance. So time is eternity. This is metaphysical. Pragmatically, we have divided our time, also space. This space, that space, my building, that building, this city, that city. This is also man-made. And the division of a time, past, present, and future, this is our understanding. Somehow or other, we have to understand the practical application of time. So this is our understanding. If this is our understanding, then we should adjust our psychic involvement according to our understanding. Otherwise, our understanding will be a threat to our psychic development. But my point is, this happens to mind only. This happens to the emotional mind only. This does not happen to intellect. So Bhagavad Gita has given a higher scope to mind, that is pure mind, that is intellect. When you are living in the realm of intellect, you become a Sthita Prajna. You know the proper use of time, the proper engagement in duty, and how to act your duty without having the sense of agency, expectation for the consequences. All these things you can do niskama karma when you have a stable mind, when you have a discriminative sense, you have a you have a better mind, intellect, when you can discriminate between the pairs of opposites. That is lacking. And I also said intellect plays double roles. Intellect discriminates, and after discrimination, that intellect has the power to transcend the opposites. Transcend the opposites. So my point is, we should, if we have created time division, we should obey it. We should follow it. Though it is empirical, though it is relative, we know time is relative. Sun is really not moving according to time. We have adjusted time according to the apparent movement of sun. Sun is constant. Sun is not moving. But we have adjusted our mindset to understand time gap according to the movement of sun. Similarly, we adjust all the events of our life according to the time that has been created by us, and that is, has been measured by the clock. Okay, so this is the point. But when psychology comes, when my mind comes, when my mind should not interfere with the empirical time. If it interferes, it will suffer. So this is the state of mind. But when we are living in the state of intellect, such problems are not there in the intellect, because it is beyond the limitation of a mind. Thank you, sir. I agree with you.
Thank you, Dr. Das. Well, um, two things that that come to my mind. One is when we talk of being late or being early to an event, we are physically connected with that event. Where something goes physical in time, even though it is a fault from our side, it is a part and parcel of the physical time, or you can say the chronological time. But when we talk of the psychological time, there is no physical event at all. Externally, the event is not at all there, but the event exists purely in one psychology, at the state of the mind. There, we talk of the psychological mind, and it differs. So that's how psychological time is something different from the chronological time, because we can measure the event. Okay, even though you are being late to some event or being faster to the event or you have missed the train, that is measurable in time, in the physical time or the chronological time. But when we come to the psychological time, there is no physical event as such. Either the physical event has already missed away or gone away, or the physical event is yet to come. But the event exists at the mental level as a copy in the mind, and that is disturbing, which Dr. Das was trying to point out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Those who
Very nice.
those who those who come out of this psychological time, they are free from fear, and they are free from anxiety, depression, and stress. And
Hmm.
very beautifully, Dr. Ghosh has pointed out that we are not able to manage the psychological time because of the self doubt. Where there is self doubt, we lack clarity over an event, and we ponder over that event, and we stay fixed to the psychological event, even though the event has ended or the event is yet to start. And that is the root cause of all the problems that we face in life. So this is one side that I'm clear with. My, I think this is what I could understand, what I could gather. On the other side, what Dr. Radhanath Behera sir has pointed out, he has made a reference to H.G. Wells' The Time Machine, where we can move forward in time, we can move backwards in time. Well, it was a fictional drama by H.G. Wells, but anyway, I think it is a scientific fiction and a lot of food for thought for the scientists. We normally think that time is unidirectional in the classical way of thinking. We say time is unidirectional and it only flows forward. But Time Machine, this book, is a thing to be thought of by the scientists because, as you pointed out, that time is not just unidirectional. We can think of a backward flow of time, as I could get from you. We can think of a backward flow of time. Well, that's it. My. I don't know. My problem is whether this backward flow of time, okay, along with the forward flow of time that we are acquainted with, fits to the relativistic metaphysics that Einstein has brought in, and the both way movement of time that Stephen Hawking, as you pointed out, is talking of, whether it fits to, okay, eternal time. Because you are a man of mathematics and physics, maybe you are more comfortable. How to fit this? If the time is moving both forward and backward, your the transit is on both sides, then somehow I think we can come closer. Well, I don't say we can describe. Okay, that description of the eternal time is. I don't. I'm not talking of that. But somehow we can capsulate, maybe by some equation. Okay, the format or the mathematical formalism for what we call the eternal time. I don't know, sir.
Sir, Dr. Rao, uh, hello.
Yes, sir. Please.
I am responding. I am responding. When we are talking of psychological time, that is our personal involvement with the event. Events do not wait for us to be involved. Events are taking place. We are getting involved with the events.
No, no, no. Yes,
No,
that is the point.
I am telling you, there are three possibilities. When we are getting involved in the events, we all have different possibilities. The way you are involved, I may not. The way you are attached, I may not. So here comes the psychological time, how one deals with the empirical time or empirical event. How I experience the empirical event. The way Arjuna experienced, Lord Krishna did not experience. The experience was different in the battlefield. So there comes the psychological time or the personal time. It has three possibilities. Number one, the event will end, your experience will end, your attachment will end. This is one sign up for your mental health. You are going according to the flow of a event. The second possibility is the event has ended, it has gone, but you are hanging. Your experience does not end. That is greater attachment. You are attached with the event. Similarly, there is a third possibility, and that is yoga sadhana, that is the psychic discipline, that is pratyahara. You can withdraw yourself before the ending of the event. You can withdraw yourself before the ending of the event. This is the third possibility. So there we can go back in time. Suppose the event will end. I did not touch that, which will go to Tantra Shastra. Tantra, that area will be called Tantra. Very beautifully, Rohit Mehta had written a very beautiful book. There he has mentioned this, that we can go back in time by use of pratyahara. You may wait for the end of the event for your full pleasure. I may withdraw having better understanding of the event prior to the end of the event, and the third person may continue his experience even the event has ended. So there are three possibilities. So going reverse in time is possible in our psychological time. And many people are great talents because they are very creative only because they go ahead in time. Many great seers, many great people, they are very much creative only because they go ahead in time. They can predict the future. They are very much mature. Even small child, we see very small children, they are very much ahead of time by their old previous sanskara. I am not going to that, but this is the psychological management of a time. We can have three possibilities. Either you end your experience with the end of the event, very natural man, normal man. You fail to end your experience when the event is already ended, and you have the power to withdraw yourself even the event is continuing. You will have the sense of indifference. You will have no interest. You will do something better. You can withdraw yourself. If you are able to withdraw from from something, you will have it is evident that you have the sense of detachment. So here we are talking about psychological time. In a simple word, we can say it is only the attachment with the event that creates psychological time. We should not be over attached. That is the problem. That was the problem of Arjuna in the battlefield. He did not take war as an event. He took it as a psychological crisis. He was worried about the future consequence. He was worried about the fate and destiny of his relatives. He was worried about his physical existence and his psychic condition. That is not a healthy sign of a warrior in the battlefield. But that was not the response of Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna was a man of intellect. He was not worried about such psychological changes of a person. His mind is stable. So this is the difference. Sometimes we are also stable, and sometimes we suffer from our cycle. Each and every person. Sometimes we are also stable, we are sthita. Sometimes we are also baffled by or disturbed by our psychological hanging. So we need transformation. That is the yogi. That is the nature of a yogi. Yogi means that you should be united with the supreme, the highest principle, so that you will not be attached unnecessarily the empirical world. So attachment with the empirical world is technically discussed in psychological time. Thank you, sir.
No. Well, my point is simply this, that the forward flow in time and the backward flow in the psychological time is dangerous, both the ways. Either you flow forward or you flow backward in the psychological time, that is dangerous. But Radhanath sir was beautifully pointing out the message, okay, the scientific hypothesis of the backward flow of time, how it is going to affect the human civilization. So that is the point that I wish to, because this psychological flow of time, both forward and backward, that is dangerous, and that keeps you bind. Okay, that keeps you in bondage, and that brings you crisis, and that takes away the mental peace and puts you in darkness. So that point is okay, but the flow of time backwards in science how does it going to help us? And Radhana sir will better will make this point clear. Sir, please, sir.
If you think of history as a subject of the past, then the backward flow of time will be helpful to us. Now, what does history? It is a subject which is also related to philosophy, also related to economics, political science, and so on, as well as to science, natural science, or biological science, even mathematical science. If you do not know what has happened, are you able to create something new, afresh, that may lead to repetition? For example, an ancient Greek philosopher said, I think it is a mathematician, Euclid. He said, an arrow in flight is at rest. An arrow in flight is at rest. It is. It appears to be surprising. It is in flight, and at this, it is in motion, and at the same time, it is at rest. How? Because mathematically speaking, as the arrow moves, it moves from point to point, or in the modern context, from infinitesimal event to another infinitesimal event. From one event to another event, they may be infinitely close to each other. But as long as the arrow moves from event to event, a man at the event E1 moves to event E2, and accordingly he sees the arrow is at E2. Then if he moves to E3, he sees arrow is at E3. So he sees the moving arrow is at rest only. So this is a peculiarity of uh, motion and rest. Again, this is a duality. Similarly, if you go back in time, what could be your advantage? Advantage is to know the past. If history has any lesson to offer, it is not to repeat it. But unfortunately, human being is never conscious of the mistakes of others, the bad deeds of history, or the ruinous condition of the past. Therefore, we suffer because we always are content with present. We never think of the future, and we never look at the past because past is something very, it exists fully. You cannot alter it. So anything done in the past and in the backward of march of time, it is full, it is complete, it is irrecoverable. And therefore, the best thing would be, uh, we can explain in a small example of motion on earth or on a rocky surface. We are able to walk freely. On sand, slightly slow. On a grass surface, it is impossible because every motion has its own opposite called friction. So in glass surface, there is no friction, therefore there is no motion. This can simply be understood. Therefore, for the future of time, there must be a past, and present is a link between the past and the present. Unless there is a past direction, you can never think of the future direction. Therefore, I think it may be sufficient because you too are a student of science. Thank you.
No, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for this. But still, I have a problem. Say, if we go with the idea that the time flows backwards, okay, can we take this time, the backward movement of time, by the mathematical entity minus t? Because the way you see, when we deal with the physical quantities, we normally take the modulus of that about the okay, and we take the quantity in the positive sense. But would it help some way? Because we are talking of a backward moment of time as distinct from a forward flow of time. For a forward flow of time, okay, we may take it as t, but are we prepared for taking the backward flow of time as minus t in mathematical calculations in order to suffice with what Stephen Hawking has said that there is a backward moment of time? I don't know. I'm not sure. It's a conjecture that has come to me. Whether we can accommodate time in terms of minus t in mathematical calculations that are involved in various physical descriptions. Can we accommodate time this way? That is my
Sir,
because
sir, sir,
normally we take the
sir,
modulus of things.
Dr.
Sir,
Rao, Dr. Rao.
sir.
Here actually we are going in another direction. This is not we
No, no, that direction, sir. Please wait for a
we
minute, sir.
no no
That direction is also
I am
important.
telling you, I am clarifying you. We are not discussing that historical time. We are not discussing about how time goes. Time neither goes back nor goes forward. It is a psychological problem for us. Psychologically, we how we deal with the event. That is the crucial point of discussion in the context of the Bhagavad Gita. The point is, time is eternal. Time has three dimensions: past, present, and future. All these are not all these are not real. We adjust with the time according to our measurement. This is a very common sense. That's the clock time. When I am discussing about, or we are discussing about psychological time, here we are discussing about our attachment with the event. That's much. That's much. Suppose there is a competition. There will be a declaration. Your time starts now. Your time starts now. This type of a time, that the time started now, 1 2 3 4, at 10 your time will be over. So there are three types of candidates. One will
Sir,
take, no
sir,
no
your
no,
point is very
we are
clear, sir.
always point to the present, don't go to the past and present, past and future. Your time started now, that means you come to the present. ଚିନ୍ତା ଚିନ୍ତା କରିବା ଭିତରେ 5 ପଏଣ୍ଟ ପଳେଇଲାଣି, 1 2 3 4 5 ହେଲାଣି। ଯୋଉ କୌନ ବରେଗା କରୋଡ଼ପତିରେ ଯୋଉଟା ହଉଛି, time started now. So one candidate will answer after 2 unit of time. 1 2 he will answer. Somebody will take 10. Somebody will fail to answer. Similarly, when something is taking place, an event, when we are talking about psychological time, we are connecting that particular event at the present. We are not going to the history of time. We are not going to the philosophy of time. It is the direct experience of time. How do you respond a particular event instantly? That is the psychological time. If you are okay, so come to the practical situation, come to a particular event. You take any example: your son's marriage ceremony, your daughter's marriage ceremony, your exam duty, your war situation. You take any situation, but your time starts now. Arjunଙ୍କ ପାଇଁ time start ହେଇଗଲା. Now you have to fight. If you do not fight, here there is a question: what is your problem? Here man suffers from the psychological problem. That means he is not ready to cope with the physical event. Very practical. I am hinting to that. There comes our attachment with the event. The point is, we should not be attached. We should not be attached with the event as a sense of passion. If we are over attached, then we run behind the time. Behind the time means behind the time of that particular succession of that event only, not a general time, not a general event. I take a particular event, I demonstrate my response to that particular event, and I assess myself how far my mind is stable. I measure my attachment with my response with the event. Then I found myself as incapable of ending my experience with the ending of the event if it is pleasant. And if it is not pleasant, then I shall stay. I shall say, stop this, stop this, stop this. If you rago and videsh, if you love and likes and dislikes, these two pairs of opposites are there because of our psychological attachment. My point is that only, sir. So we should overcome that. We should
No, your
overcome that. Yes.
your point is very much clear, sir. There is no issue with your point that you are
Uh,
picking out. There is no issue with that. The only thing is, from the scientific standpoint that Radhanath Behera sir has pointed out, the accountability of time flowing backwards. That was the issue. Your point was very much
no,
clear,
no,
precise.
no. What Radhanath sir is saying, that is a separate
No, no,
thing
please,
of a
please, please,
separate discussion. No, no.
let us listen to him from the standpoint of science.
Uh,
Your part is clear, sir. Your part is very
if
much
my
clear,
part is
appreciable.
clear, if my part is clear, then we should go in that direction. If we take everything to the
No, 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 no.
then
Just a
that is
minute.
not.
Please hold on, sir, for a while. Let us listen to what science has got to say, because person like Stephen Hawking has said, and what is that time flowing backward? If that can fit to your model, that is the point to see. Your point is very much clear, appreciable. So what Radhana sir has got to say, whether how it fits to the mathematical formalism of taking minus t into account in mathematical formalism, that is the point to be noted. Your point is very precise, clear, appreciable. What Radhana sir has got in mind, that we wish to know. And if it can fit to your format, let us see. That is the point. Yes.